Democrat Eric Swalwell was among the Judiciary Committee members to field Whitaker's fire today. The congressman joins us now. Welcome to Prime Time.
Good evening, Chris. Thanks for having me back.
So, first question. Did you believe all of the answers given to you by the acting AG?
Well, we're going to have to test those answers, Chris, with other witnesses and other evidence. So I'm not going to draw that conclusion now, but I don't think these guys are worth being taken at their word. They've proven in the past, the Trump campaign, the Trump family, the Trump businesses, and the Trump administration, that they have been deceitful. And so we're in a position now, being in the majority, that we can test their accounts, and we plan on doing that.
Well, so, I'll tell you what, though, just having an open question on that basis, Congressman, that's kind of severe. You think that there's a chance that an acting attorney general might lie to Congress?
Well, I asked him about an account that the New York Times reported, which was that before he became chief of staff to Sessions, he was auditioning and interviewing to be the president's lawyer in the White House to respond to the Mueller investigation. The New York Times said that he had met with Don McGahn. And so I asked him about that, and he actually said, no, that never happened. So that's inconsistent with a very reputable publication's reporting. So we're going to have to go back and see, what was going on there.
Another interesting aspect today that could be a key takeaway. Was he telling the truth? Great. He was asked a question that you guys tend to ask people around the Mueller probe about whether or not they defend it, support it, this and that. He would talk about the fact that Mueller has integrity, Mueller doesn't have a conflict. He did not say he would defend the probe. He said it's an ongoing investigation. What did you make of that?
Well, he also would not say that it's not a witch hunt, where you heard William Barr said that, and others, Rod Rosenstein has said that. And I think that he knew that the most important person watching that hearing for his sake was Donald Trump, and he wasn't going to go that far. But I did get him to say that he believed Bob Mueller to be honest, and he believed that despite the president's multiple tweets, Bob Mueller is not conflicted. But again, I tried to see, are you willing to say that to the president right now? Mr. President, he's honest, he's not conflicted. And again, he wouldn't go that far. And so you can see, I think, the fear that a lot of these people have of getting on the wrong side of Donald Trump.
You also asked him about pardons. He said, I just want to get the language right, he hasn't been involved in any discussions about pardons. And yet in the Manafort filing, it's worth pointing out that for the first time, a special counsel prosecutor suggested that a person, in this case Manafort, was not forthcoming because he was angling for a pardon. So what did you make of that?
We believe that a lot of these witnesses, just from the evidence that's out there, a lot of these defendants or indicted or even people who pled guilty like Manafort, that they are seeking pardons. And so that's why I wanted to get to the bottom of that. I'm going to take him, again, at his word that he's being straight with us, but I'm not going to just let that be the last word. We're going to look at other witnesses at the department to see if, pardons are being explored. He also, Chris, what was interesting, he said, well, Congressman, that the department has a process for pardons, which, of course, has always been the case until Donald Trump came along and Sheriff Joe was pardoned without that process being honored.
Right. So, I guess it was at the point where he was being asked about whether or not the report would be made public. And he sounded a lot the way William Barr was reportedly sounding to Senator Durbin. Well, I don't know, we got to see what the rules and regulations allow. And I thought to myself in that moment, why are they doing this? Why are the Democrats even holding this hearing? The guy's not going to give you straight answers on this kind of stuff. He's a short timer. Why waste the time? Or is that a fair thing to say, to suggest it was a waste of time?
No, this was a damage assessment to the rule of law. It's had a wrecking ball taken to it for the last 2 years, and he has been presiding over the department for the last few months. This is the first time we've been able to take that damage assessment. So we wanted to see, is the rule of law still standing? Does the Mueller investigation have the freedom of movement that we believe that it needs? And of course, he is a potential obstruction witness, considering that it was fishy in every way that he came into the acting attorney general. It was fishy in the way that he refused to recuse himself despite the counsel that he should. And it was fishy in the way that he said that the investigation was nearly complete when he said that last week. And when I asked him if Bob Mueller was sitting here right now, would he agree with you that it's nearly complete? And he said no, he wouldn't agree with me.
And, look, this first big showdown here is a little bit of a window into our future. I want to play a back and forth between you and another committee member as a kind of telescoping where we may be headed.
Look, I'm outgunned over here. I have no votes. This is not part of the call of the hearing. Ms. Swalwell, there's plenty of things to do. Ms. Cicilline, you
Will
can
the gentleman yield?
Mr. Collins, if you want to sit down there with his lawyers, you can go sit down there, but you're not his lawyer.
Gentleman will suspend.
And neither are you, Mr. Swalwell. And if you ask questions that are actually part of this instead of running for president down there, we can get this done.
Now, that's ugly, right? So he's out there. He's the Republican. He's taking care of Whitaker. You call him out for it. Say, go sit with Whitaker if you want to be like that. He comes at you for wanting to run for 2020. Is this the way it's going to be going forward?
Yeah, and I have a lot of respect for Mr. Collins. He and I came in together, and this is our process right now. But I'll tell you, Chris, as the son of a cop who busted his back for me to be the first in the family to go to college, it's not an insult to say to me, you're running for president. That, to my dad, he's like, yeah, we did it.
So what does that mean? Are you thinking about running?
I'm considering it. We're getting close. I'm offering right now, I'm going to Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. I think I have a vision of going big, being bold, and doing good, being connected to everyday Americans by being the first to go to college, by having student loan debt and 2 kids under 2. I think you need a candidate that understands the American struggle of grit and want, and then also coming from a place in the country, Silicon Valley, where we believe that, being inventive and resilient can solve problems, and not the way that this Washington wall just, kills optimism and opportunity. So I see opportunity there. I'm still sorting it out with my family, but I'm excited to even be considering it.
Some polished response you just gave me there, Congressman. I do believe you are seriously considering this. Let me ask you one question. I'm going to give you a minute more of the show here because this matters. So let's say you decide to run. You're going to have to fight your way through the field. The party's got to figure out where its soul is. How far left do you have to go? Let's say you make it through, all right? Yeah. And you're now face-to-face with Donald Trump. How do you deal with the president when he starts coming at you with the nickname and all the things he says and all the things that back in the day, your father would have put a baton over the top of his head for even saying it? How would you respond in that dynamic? What's going to be your approach?
The same way I did for 7 years in an Oakland courtroom. I would stand up and present the evidence. And the case I would make would be to the American people that Donald Trump was right when he told Americans that many of them were disconnected and that their hard work wasn't adding up to anything. But the problem is that he just has not delivered for them, and they need someone who will.
Can you go toe-to-toe with Trump?
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. And it's not about Donald Trump. It's about the people who are counting on him to deliver for them.
Well, please, let me know where your head winds up on this. You'd be an important entry into the race. Appreciate your perspective on today.
Thank you, Chris.
All right. Eric Swalwell, Congressman, thank you. How about that? I thought that was a throwaway question. Now we may have a new entrant in the race. He represents things that we don't have in the race right now. Very interesting.